In the fourth and final season of Atlanta, we first catch up with Earn, Al, Darius and Van, who are all back in their titular hometown after the crazy European tour of the previous season. And as we've come to anticipate, the fourth season of FX's groundbreaking comedy drama gets underway with a bang. We were all interested to see how Donald Glover and his team would manage the conclusion of such a well-liked series because of the experimental nature and tendency toward the absurd of the third season, which received both praise and criticism from many. Glover tweeted that only The Sopranos could compare to the last two episodes of the show, calling them some of the best television ever done. Bringing the characters and performers back to Atlanta is the ideal and most obvious way to start such a melancholy ending, returning them to where it all began. It's challenging to replicate Atlanta's greatest moments outside of, well, Atlanta when the main characters explore topics of race, power, and culture. The episode begins with Darius attempting to return an air fryer to Target as the store is being violently robbed, picking up after an unspecified amount of time has passed since the European tour. When the lone employee informs him of the store's status, he approaches the counter in his customary detached manner and is unaware of what is going on around him. He understandably responds, "It kinda looks like a Marshall's in here." He continues to try to return the air fryer, but the employee steals Darius's money and runs away when the cashier unlocks the register to recover the money. With an air fryer in tow, Darius tries to leave the business alone, but a white woman in a wheelchair is blocking the exit and obstructing their exit. I once read a tweet that went something like, "White folks act like God left them in charge." It makes me think of that tweet. This lady embodies what was said in the tweet. In her wheelchair, she is essentially keeping watch and ordering the thieves to give back their plunder. This is based on Target Jennifer, a wheelchair-bound Minneapolis resident who brandished a knife at looters during the demonstrations following George Floyd's death. Darius eventually avoids her, while the robbers use fire extinguishers to beat her off until she brandishes a knife. The last person left standing in the chaos, she turns her attention to Darius, pursuing him to Alfred's car while armed to the teeth with a knife. Darius eventually makes it to Alfred's idling car that is stuck in Atlanta traffic. After hearing about Blue Bloods passing on the radio, while Darius is inside the store, Alfred is in mourning over one of his favorite rappers. When the wheelchair-bound Karen from Target comes up to them and swings her knife at the passenger door, Darius is forced to jump out of the car and flee while they are still listening to Blue Blood's most recent release. Al pulls away to a gas station when he realizes he's across the street from a BBQ restaurant listed in the Blue Blood album he's been listening to because he's tired of the traffic and a bothersome fan trying to record him on his IG Live. He enters the eatery and orders a zoo pie, the dish that Blue Blood raps about in the song. Alfred orders a zoo pie from the aloof man behind the counter, possibly the Sonny, with a mean mug from the song without even knowing what a zoo pie is. The zoo pie comes in a blue styrofoam box with an emblem of 2BS stamped on the inside of the lid and an address written below. It turns out that the zoo pie is a mixture of baked beans and Fritos. With the hints hidden in the lyrics of Blue Blood's final album, he thinks he's stumbled across a scavenger hunt. Alfred is directed by the address and the song's lyrics to a community pool's locker area, where he discovers coins bearing the identical Double B insignia. He then spends the coins to play an arcade game to earn a t-shirt with a thumbs-up image on the front, continuing to follow the lyrics. This way brings Alfred into contact with a man who has the Double B logo tattooed on his forearm, leading him next to a comic book store where he finds the comic. After that, he ends up at a laundromat where a set of 3D movie glasses is waiting for him. After the movie, he then finds himself in a random storefront. He walks in and notices that he is at a funeral after taking in his surroundings. There is just one other person there, a black-clad woman who introduces herself as Gary, aka Blue Blood's wife. She reveals that the scavenger hunt was another way for him to surpass himself even after death. This is the funeral he wanted. He produced his CD and made preparations for the numerous objects he lay out for those of his admirers who accepted the quest while being aware that he was terminally ill. Alfred is reportedly the fifth person to arrive, which speaks something about his enthusiasm for Blue Blood and his own relationship to the group now that he is a well-known rapper. The moment Alfred bids farewell to the casket holding Gary's now cremated body, which is replaced with a fake skeleton, Van, Earn, and Kenya, one of Earn's prior lovers, burst through an unmarked entrance in the room. Each character's trip down a rabbit hole in this episode is reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland, which highlights Atlanta's propensity for absurdity. Earn drove Van to Atlantic Station to get a new phone while Alfred was off on his scavenger expedition and Darius was evading a woman in a wheelchair. As soon as they get there, Kenya and another ex run into him, followed by another ex at the AT&T store. Van also crosses up with an ex who just so happens to be still employed by the same AT&T after 10 years. As they continue to stroll through the mall, they pass more and more of their former romantic interests. They attempt to leave but become lost in a parking lot that appears to be an infinite maze before running across Kenya, who claims to feel as like she has been missing for a very long time. When she tells Ern and Van that she has been at Atlantic Station for how long, they inquire as to what movie was showing in the theater when she first arrived. She claims it was the 2016 film Now You See Me Too. Van and Ern discover the exit while trapped in the mausoleum of their sexual pasts. Van is initially reluctant to follow Ern through the night in such conditions, but she eventually gives in and follows her. Only their voices can be heard as the camera goes dark, and they describe the surroundings as having moist carpeted walls and little to no light. Kenya follows shortly after as they crash into Blue Blood's burial after kicking their way through. Darius stumbles into the parking lot and asks for a ride home as they make their way outside to the car so Al can drive them home. Kenya finds she never actually received the gift for her dad, who was the initial purpose of her 2016 trip to Atlantic Station. As she waits for an Uber in the parking lot, Darius hands her the undesired air fryer. The final scene of the episode is a close-up of Kenya's back as the purring of a wheelchair engine approaches. Al, Ern, Van, and Darius drive off as Kenya waits.